Hi, my name's Nate Dixon. I am a physical therapist and owner of Lava 24 Fitness and Lava Physical Therapy here on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I have been a physical therapist on the island for 20 years, and I started a fitness center here 15 years ago. In 2012, my friend had a heart attack, and that same week I had a retired physician who was a patient and gave me the book How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. And so I had that book, and that was the beginning of the growth of my vegan lifestyle. In 2014, I saw Dr. Dean Ornish speak. He's a cardiologist, and he came to Savannah, Georgia. And so since November 15th of 2014, I've been 100% plant-based, whole food vegan. When I hear the word vegan, I think of someone that eats healthy, number one, but also is very aware of the environment and animal ethics. So I've learned to love the word vegan because I realize how healthy it is for us all. Since I became vegan, I've really felt so much better physically. I had an old ankle injury from football back in high school. I tore ligaments, and you know, that was a very arthritic joint for me. I was having pain when I'd run. Certainly the next day I'd be limping. And when I went vegan, plant-based whole food vegan, no more ankle injury, no more swelling in my ankle. It was awesome. I literally felt like I could try out for playing in the NFL again. Not really, but that was age 40, but I felt good. I felt really good. I also noticed that when I'd run on, little runs around the neighborhood, I would have heart angina, a little bit of angina when I'd start the run, and that went away. So, of course, I was always thinking, my buddy died actually when he was out for a run at age 35 years old. He went out for a run and died when he was running. So I was always thinking about that angina pain that I had when I was running, and that went away. So in 2014, when I started to go for those runs, I was really thoughtful of that, and I noticed that had disappeared. My blood pressure went back to normal. I had high blood pressure, and I also had prostatitis. About 15 years ago, I went to a doctor because I had prostatitis problems. Males have prostate glands, and that gets inflamed on an unhealthy diet, an animal-based diet. And I was eating cheese and meats back then, and my prostate gland was screaming at me. It was basically the first early signs of prostate cancer. And I did eat healthier after I went to the doctor. The doctor didn't give me great advice, but I knew what to do. I just knew what I had to do, and so I really was eating healthier after that. But in 2014 is really when all those symptoms of prostatitis went away completely. And that was when I knew I was onto something not just good for myself, but something I had to share with others. I realized that I was starting to feel much healthier, and I felt younger. In fact, I feel 20 years younger. What I typically tell my friends and family members and patients is that for every year you go plant-based whole food vegan, you will feel 10 years younger in that first year. For example, if you're 40 years old and you go plant-based whole food vegan for 1 year, you'll feel like you're 30 years old after 1 year. And then you do it for another year, you'll feel like you're another 10 years younger, so you're gonna feel like you're 20. And then it starts to, it becomes a shorter period of time, but you will feel like you're in your, 20s, 30 years younger than you actually are, just by becoming plant-based whole food vegan. Well, originally when I first became vegan, I was vegan for health because my buddy died of a heart attack, and I wanted to do everything I could to help myself and my patients become healthier. And then as I realized how healthy it was for me, I also realized how good it was for the environment and the animal ethics. So when I saw the documentaries Cowspiracy for the environment and also Earthlings, those documentaries really helped me become 100% for life vegan. The big transition I made as switching into a plant-based whole food vegan began with the whole idea of becoming healthy. as a human being, to become somebody that's going to live a long, healthy life. And as I did that, I also realized how important it was for the environment and for the animals. And so I really have become much more passionate about helping the animals. And yeah, I love humans, but I love animals. Like, I really love animals. You know, dogs and cats and pigs and chickens and cows. We've become so disconnected from the farming industrial complex. So we need to reconnect with animals. And once we do that, then we reconnect with ourselves, and we become a lot more compassionate towards each other and also animals. All right, well, this is Duke. All right, so this is what a vegan dog looks like. He's 7 years old, and he's been vegan for 6.5 years. You know, I learned early on that the longest living dogs were vegan. So I got Duke on when he was a puppy. He's been 6.5 years vegan. Currently we use v-dog.com. So VDog is the name of the dog food. Before that, PetSmart and Petco, those are the pet stores we have around us. And they have a vegan dog food. So you can get it locally, or you can go on v-dog.com. You can order it, very healthy. We're gonna get him into his 20s. You know, that's our goal, is to live a long, healthy life, not just for humans, but for animals as well. And for those of you that have cats, from what I understand, I don't have a cat, but what I understand is there's a supplement called L-carnitine that, as long as you make sure your cat has that your cat will be fine. So you can have a vegan cat as well. Consult with your vet, or, you know, there's different podcasts that you can listen to. Reach out to us, and we'll be happy to connect you with those resources. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to Duke as well, and thank you very much. Okay, bye, Duke. Say goodbye to everyone. When I think of the question on why we should all become vegan, I think of how we can help each other. You know, we're trying to help each other become healthy. We're trying to help each other prevent environmental damage, which is caused by factory farming. And we're also trying to help the animals, because if we live in a world where we're all helping each other and helping the animals, it just becomes basically heaven on earth, and that's what we're trying to get. That's what we're trying to bring here. It's an idealistic world and vision, but that's what we are striving for. We want to help people come together and be stress-free and get rid of all the animal abuses and, you know, all those bad things that happen in the world. We want to focus on how we can help each other. And I think what it does is it gets people thinking. It's like we're all in the same team, you know, we're all in this together, trying to help animals, trying to help each other's health. And why would I want another person to become vegan? I want them to become vegan so that they become healthy, you know, so that they understand the big picture, so that we're not just thinking about ourselves. There's this cognitive dissonance that we all live in. And the United States of America is an example, but it's around the entire world where this very unhealthy way of eating, which is, you know, animal agriculture, has been pushed around the world, and we need to stop it here. It started here in the U.S., and we need to stop it here in the U.S. so that we can help everyone around the world, you know, do the same thing. So that's the big picture view. The challenges that I've had becoming vegan, the beginning part in 2012, when I was just starting to transition, and I didn't become 100% vegan until I saw Dr. Dean Ornish speak in Savannah, Georgia. Difficulties that I had early on were all dealing with my addictions to salt, sugar, and oil. Those are the food additives that the big food industry adds to processed food, as well as cheese, right? The only reason cheese tastes good is because they put salt in it. If they took the salt out of cheese, they would have no product to sell. And they put salt and sugar in processed deli meats, as well as any fast food company, and all they do is they put sugar and oil and salt, and that's what makes it taste good. So those are the same things we all struggle with early on, is getting rid of those salt addictions, the sugar addictions, and just switching over to a whole food lifestyle where our taste buds will reboot. When they reboot, we now taste fruit and vegetables for the first time. We never realized how good they taste. Here's one thing I like to share with my patients and family and friends is when they try to eat kale, just put a leaf of kale in your mouth and chew it. For a few minutes, it actually becomes sweet because our salivary glands turn the kale into sugar. So it's an incredible thing that we never think about. But when you chew foods, they actually taste better because they become sweet on their own naturally. The big issue is the transition from an addictive taste buds. The taste buds that are on our tongue are really difficult to get over, but it is definitely doable, and it's done very easily with a water-only fast, like Dr. Michael Clapper recommends, but also just transitioning to a plant-based whole food diet. Your taste buds will reboot in just a matter of weeks, and then you're going to be able to taste things for the first time. Well, when we look at holidays, we have to think about how can we help share this message, because when we come together as a family, it's really an opportunity to share the great work of the plant-based whole food vegan movement. And I always lead with the same thing, and that's health. I don't really talk about animal ethics or environmental ethics at the dinner table or in the kitchen, because that just is not a good thing to bring up. But helping my Uncle Pete become heart attack proof, now we're talking, because I know he's got a history of cancer and a history of eating animal products, and I know that he needs help eating healthy. I've got lots of uncles, lots of aunts. Many have had healthcare problems, and many have died as well from cancer, and so we want to share the message of health. That's first and foremost. It's simple. It really is simple to eat healthy. We just have to change the habits. I've also found success with looking at different age demographics. So I will work with, as a physical therapist, I have patients in their 80s and 90s, and I'll work with them to become a role model for their own family members. And once the seniors in the family are doing it, it's very easy for the others to do it. Children will switch on a dime. If we just educate them quickly, children will be on board. And that's true of 99% of children. They just quickly switch. But the older people, the older we get, the harder it is to switch. I didn't switch until I was 40 years old. So I understand how it is living here in the United States of America, where we have this constant bombardment of fast food commercials and big pharma commercials and all this BS that we have to work through to figure out what we should actually be eating. The longer we live in this society where we're constantly being bombarded with this BS, we have to realize that as we get older, we have to look at the research. And when we look at the research, it's clear. The research shows that heart disease is reversible and preventable. The #1 killer in America is heart disease. Cancer is the #2 killer in America, and we know that that is, for the most part, completely preventable. And of course, autoimmune diseases, those are just inflammatory diseases that when we stop all the dairy and we stop all the animal products, we know that those will just go away in most cases. So we need to identify medical doctors and medical professionals that are going to educate us and get us down that path. Yeah, when I hear about people that are going keto or paleo, now they're calling it carnivore diet. What's going on in the world is there's a lot of misinformation. I hate to use that word, but there's misinformation in the world of these diets. One thing we know for sure is the only way to prevent and reverse disease is on a plant-based whole food diet. There's tons and tons of research that shows that. So these other diets are just distractions. Now, you can be on a keto diet and be on a vegan diet, but there's only a small group of people that's technically good for based on the research, and that's people that have problems with seizure disorders. So yeah, that's actually, from what I understand, and of course I refer patients to medical doctors that can help with those special populations. But everyone else really, for optimal human health, needs to be on a plant-based whole food diet. If you follow the money, you'll see the problem. So this research is tried and true, and it is legit helping humans live long, healthy lives. So that's, if you want to live a long, healthy life, we want to make sure you're on a plant-based whole food diet and avoiding the keto diets, which are heavy in animal products. That's their whole purpose, is they want to create a trendy word, a keto diet, which it's all marketing. And they want to create a type of diet that's promoting their animal-based products, which we know is unhealthy for us. So as long as we stick with the plant-based diet, we're good. When I became vegan and I was doing it for health purposes, I was focused on health, and I didn't think about eating animals again. But what really solidified it for me is when I started to watch the documentaries on Cowspiracy, Earthlings, those documentaries that really get you, your heart connected to the earth and connected to the animals. From that moment, I knew I would never eat an animal, and I would do everything I could to help them. We want to be in a world where we help each other, and where we help Mother Earth, and we help the animals that live on the earth with us. I love Dr. Michael Clapper's video on oil, salt, and sugar, because that helped me more than anything to realize that I was addicted to salt and sugar. Those are the things that they add to those foods to make them taste good. So if you have a hamburger and you put ketchup on it, that ketchup is nothing more than salt and sugar. Yeah, there's a little bit of tomatoes in there. And I'm from Fremont, Ohio, where Heinz ketchup comes from, but I still will tell you that Heinz ketchup is salt and sugar. And so what we have to do is we have to analyze the foods that we put into our body, because when we do that, we realize that even though our grandparents wanted us to eat something that thought was healthy, that those foods weren't technically healthy, and it came from a good place. But if they knew then what we know now, they would absolutely be vegan. I have no doubt my grandma, both of my grandparents on both sides of my family have passed away a long time ago, but I have no doubt with the information we have now that they would all be vegan. So I have no desire to eat animal products, because I understand my old habits were nothing more than the psychological comfort foods that my taste buds wanted to eat. And so I don't think of animal products as food anymore, because I realize that they're just completely unhealthy and not good for the earth. I don't desire the texture anymore of an animal, a hamburger, for example. Beyond Meat, they were built on the idea that they're going to create a burger that has the same texture and the same taste as a cow, right? So the whole idea of that is they're using a non-heme iron to give you that metallic taste of what it tastes like to eat a hamburger. Well, I no longer desire that at all. In fact, I don't even like Beyond Meat, because I don't want that metallic taste in my mouth. I would rather have bean burger that has tons of phytonutrients, spices that make it very healthy. That's what I call a burger, is a bean burger. We can leave the cows alone. We don't want to hurt them anymore, and we certainly don't want to. We don't want to have our children grow up thinking that eating an animal product is what tastes good. In fact, it's usually the ketchup that makes that, or the sauces, or the salt. When you grill out a hamburger, you put salt and pepper and all that stuff on top of it to cover up those tastes of the actual animal. We want to include all the spices. We want to include all the healthy sauces, but we want to leave the animal products off the table. The idea of lab-grown meat is interesting, but I think it's just foolish, honestly. These big corporations are trying to make a lot of money. I wish they would focus on making incredibly tasting good bean burgers. Like Dr. Michael Greger has a whole cookbook on all sorts of great recipes, and he has a bean burger in there that's phenomenal. These big companies need to be taught a lesson, and the lesson should be that the demands from all of us need to be that we're going to make our own food. If we're going to go out to a fast food restaurant, we want that fast food restaurant to be a bean burger. We don't want to have lab-grown meat, because lab-grown meat is silly. It doesn't make any sense. You still have all the unhealthy elements of meat, which is carcinogenic and causes heart disease, so it's foolish. The whole idea, sorry, all those big corporations that are doing that, but we need to be focused on human health. And the only way we're going to get back to that focus is by demanding healthy foods. And so I think it's a great question, because when we look at Beyond Meat and we look at these lab-grown meat companies, their whole game is to try to make a lot of money helping people transition away from factory farming, which is obviously very good, but we don't need to go down that path. We just need to focus on how to make organic farmland with beans and vegetables and great spices that we can put together into great recipes, and leave all the big corporations need to, maybe get out of the game and focus on human health. If a doctor wanted me to eat an animal, I would politely let them know that they have no research to support that. And if they do, I'd like to see it, because I guarantee you it will be debunked. Although there are medical doctors that are saying that, we have to realize that medical doctors have zero nutrition classes in medical school. So they're not trained in nutrition. They're trained to diagnose a problem and then prescribe a pill. That's typically what they do. And so what we want to do is we want to take a step back. We want to make sure that we are communicating very well with our medical doctors. I'm a physical therapist, so we want to make sure that we communicate with them when we're helping people to transition to reverse their health problems. A medical doctor that is telling people to eat chicken or pigs or cows or dairy products, they have no foundation for that statement. And so we would want to just call them out in a polite way, because although they're very, very smart people, to go through medical school you have to be very smart, they are many times misguided, and we want to make sure that we help them get back on track, because we want to help these medical doctors become truly great medical doctors. And there's only one path to do that, and that is to read the research, look at these great organizations. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine is a great organization that every medical doctor should learn about and become a proud part of that organization, because there is so much room for growth, and we can reverse these diseases. They don't have to be problematic. They don't have to be killing our family and friends. And we want to focus on the knowledge and the research that we already have. The foods I like to eat, I usually just start in the morning with a kale smoothie, right? Going back to the kale, chia seeds, flax seeds, bananas, blueberries, strawberries, any type of fruit, carrots. I'll throw in any sort of vegetables I have in the fridge. So I just start with a kale-based smoothie. We eat a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables. We try to eat as whole food as possible. I'll eat some processed vegan food, but I try to minimize the processed vegan food. I eat that mainly to decide if I'm going to recommend it to people if they are in the process of transitioning. That's the big picture. Is we want to eat plant-based whole food. Raw is generally better, but the cooking, sweet potatoes, any sort of white potatoes, the dark green leafy vegetables are the #1 source for health, and that's what we want to focus on. So lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, and chia seeds, flax seeds, legumes, which are black beans and lentils, those kind of foods, as well as nuts. Walnuts, pecans are the healthiest types of nuts that we can eat. One of the things we have to remember as humans is we're very efficient. We don't need to eat that much food, so we don't need to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner like everyone wants us to think. As long as you are healthy with a healthy body fat percentage, I like to use the American College of Sports Medicine. They have several guidelines that I use. And so for athletes that are male, I like my athletic males to be in that 10% body fat range. The females, we like that, those we advise them to be right around 20% body fat, in that ballpark. Depends on their goals with their athletic endeavors. But once you set those goals and you have that basic knowledge of what your body fat percentage is, as long as you feel healthy and you're probably in that range, you take that and you eat as much as you need. You don't need to have lunch. You don't need to have dinner. There's a lot of discussion about fasting. So every day we have this longer and longer fasting period when we're not eating food and just drinking water. That's we now know that that's very healthy for us. So eating once or twice a day is plenty. In that green smoothie that I have every morning, there's lots of calories in there. So I don't really have to worry about getting my caloric intake. I'm about 5'10", 170 pounds. I've been that weight for a long time, right around 8 to 10% body fat percentage. So I know my stats, and we want you to know your stats as well, so that you get into that healthy range, so that you can live a long, healthy life. And that's the goal setting that we work on, is from a coaching aspect. Generally speaking, no, I don't worry about any of that. On a plant-based whole food diet, I get all the vitamins and minerals I need, and there is one that we need to be concerned about, all humans need to be concerned about, and that is vitamin B12. We evolved, our humans species evolved eating and drinking food from the dirt. And so vitamin B12 is simply a bacteria that comes from the ground, whether it be groundwater, whether we drank water from creeks and streams and lakes, or we ate root vegetables, carrots and potatoes, and we would eat those raw right out of the earth. That's where we are exposed, or that's where we get those vitamin B12 molecules into our system. When you ask about medications and supplements, nope, haven't taken any medications for pretty much my whole life. When I transitioned to being plant-based, I did have hypertension, by the way. I didn't mention that earlier, but I had hypertension, and so that went away. So I don't take any medications, and I do take an occasional vitamin B12 supplement, and just a multi from either Complement or Garden of Life brands. Those are some quick supplements that I would take every so often. But vitamin B12 is the big concern. I get all the omega-3 fatty acids from chia seeds, flax seeds, avocados, walnuts. And so I just get all those in high doses from, usually a green smoothie. Dark green leafy vegetables are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, which is the good kind of omega-3s, the omega fatty acids. We want the omega-3s. And we want to reduce the other kinds. But omega-3s are where we really want to focus. Well, I haven't gone to the doctor since becoming vegan at all. I did go to the doctor once, about 15 years ago. I had actually some prostatitis. In males, we have prostate glands, and I didn't know really what was going on, so I went to the doctor, and I'll just say I got a lot of bad information. And once he told me what he thought I needed to do, I never returned to go back to see him. Ended up just switching over to plant-based. Every symptom, any sort of inflammation, all went away. So I can tell you for sure that going plant-based really wipes out the needs to go to the medical doctor. Although, I will say that it is good to get checked up. You do want to stay in tune to your blood work and those kind of things, especially if you have a history of any problems. So I'm not an anti-medical doctors. I'm a physical therapist. I work with them every day. I just know that when you switch to a plant-based whole food diet, you don't have to have the concerns of a lot of the ailments that would happen if you were eating an animal-based diet. I think the reason people become vegan and then quit and kind of go back and forth is because there's a disconnected with our goals in life and really how to help each other. There's three categories, big categories that we have to look at, and they all support each other. So when we look at health, we look at the environment, we look at animal ethics. I think that's how we need to make sure we're looking at everything, because they all support each other. When somebody goes back and forth, it's because they're addicted to the salt, oil, and sugar. It's because they aren't motivated and they lack the resources to keep them there, because they have family and friends that are not vegan yet, and so they're causing them to go back into the bad habits. When we're not plugged into those reasons that we became vegan in the first place, the health, the environment, the animals, that's when we lose sight, and that's when we lose our passion for becoming and staying vegan. So we have to stay connected, and the best way we can stay connected is to watch the documentaries over and over, share them with each other, share the resources, share just the gift of recipes, of healthy recipes. If I was raised vegan, I would certainly be a lot more compassionate early in life, right? I would, I didn't turn plant-based whole food vegan until I was 40 years old. Idea of being raised vegan is a dream, and I recommend if you're a parent out there to try to transition your kids and yourselves as soon as possible, because it's such a compassionate way to live life, and it's the healthiest way to live life. I don't like to look back too much, because when we look back, we start pointing fingers, and when we point fingers at different parents and grandparents, that's not how we want to help people. We want to think, how can we share this knowledge and not point fingers at people, because this is new. This is all new research that we're talking about. And yeah, it's been hidden and suppressed by big pharma and the big food industry and these different government agencies that are what's called captured amongst ourselves. When we're talking about our family and friends, we don't want to point fingers. We don't want to say, you caused grandma's heart attack or grandpa's cancer. We don't want to say that. What we want to do is we want to help people now going forward into the future, so that we can, Dr. Brooke Goldner has this simple quote, and it says, once you know better, you do better. And that's what I try to live by. And in addition to being board certified in neurology and board certified as a lifestyle medicine doctor, she's also a psychiatrist. And so I love her messages, and I love how positive she is. We don't want to point fingers at people. We want to help people. We want to help our family, and we want to help our friends. And we want to make this life experience become very loving. And the only way we can do that is by helping each other out. We can't look back into the past and blame each other. We want to always look forward into the future and help each other. I think someday soon we're going to be in a vegan world. I think all the financial influences around us are coming together, and I think there's no other choice, but we're going to have to become a vegan world, which is awesome. Now, there's different ways we can get there. We can do it through education. We can do it very quickly. We have to stop the artificial insemination of the cows, the pigs, and the chickens in that process. And then we need to take care of those animals. We put them into sanctuaries where they become basically petting zoos and places where families will take their kids so they can go play with the animals, instead of currently we're in a situation where we're hurting them, and we want to get out of that world. The new world of veganism is coming soon, big strides within the next few years. So if you're a politician out there watching this video, if you want to become a politician, reach out to me, please. I will help you. We are going to be coaching people, not just in business, but also so that they can become politically inspired, so that we can create new leaders in the world, because that's what we need more than anything right now, is new political leaders. The ones we have in America, they are totally misguided. They're corrupted. They have financial interests that are not helping the general public. And so we want to make sure that we take care of each other. We have to vote for the right political leaders. We want to do it peacefully, of course, and that's what we want to focus on, is how to get new political leaders in place, and then, get rid of all the corruption, get rid of the money, get the money out of politics, because right now in the US they're allowed to legally bribe our politicians, which is nuts, and so we have to stop that. So we want to focus on getting the corruption out so that we can move forward with an organic, plant-based whole food system. I didn't mention this earlier, but all the agriculture in America can be completely, 80% of it can be removed, and we can just focus on 20% of the farmland, make it organic farmland. That will feed our entire population with just 20% of the current farmland that's being used. So we want to transition all of our farmland into either organic farming, or we want to let it reforest so that we can get the trees back. What we're doing is we're subconsciously training our kids to think that violence and killing animals is normal. What a vegan world does is it teaches peace and harmony early in life. And I think that is the biggest factor in creating a peaceful world, is early in life we want to teach our kids to be good towards animals. The mindset that we have as a vegan culture is we want to create nonviolence, because the beginning of our education starts with little children eating animals, and they don't realize the harm that they're doing. And so when we have a vegan world, we now teach them how to take care of the animals. And that's what will allow us to move forward into a peaceful world. And that carries over to being kinder to each other as well. And that's what we want, the way we treat our animals is the way we want to treat each other. And it's a wonderful world when we look at what the word vegan means and how we can take care of each other and take care of the animals. Everything makes sense. The whole school system, all the grades, the cafeteria, everything is plant-based, whole food, vegan. It just makes sense. There's no cruelty, there's no bad health. Everything's good and healthy. I also look at the aspects of all the problems of childhood obesity. Childhood obesity, diabetes in children, which is happening right here in America and anywhere in the world where they have animal products in their diet. We know the direct cause that animals have on our health. It causes diabetes, it causes obesity, it causes heart disease. We know how terrible that is for our health. Parents need to come together and fight for our children's, and I'm not a parent, but I'm speaking as a parent because I'm of the age of a parent, because I'm going to adopt kids at some point in the future. We need to come together to now to help all the children so that this next generation coming forward is not only educated, but very much enlightened and focused on real education. So our hopes are really in the future that we can get rid of this corrupt medical system and not have to deal with it. Just have politicians that are truly working on our behalf, working for us, and not for the big corporations. And that's what we need to focus on. So in these next elections, wherever you're at in the world, we need to make sure the people that we're voting for are in tune to the political aspects of plant-based whole food vegan and how to get rid of the corruption out of all of our politics. One of my favorite quotes is simple. It's, once you know better, you do better. I'm sure many people have said that through the years, but I love that quote, as Dr. Brooke Goldner says on her YouTube channel. Once you know better, you do better. And I think if we just keep it simple, that's what we need to do, is go down that path of learning and then following through and doing what we need to do. Okay, so some good success stories that we've had. I've had quite a few. I'm going to start with just one person I can think of off the top of my head. I won't name him because he actually worked for Cargill, and Cargill is a company up in the Chicago area. They're the companies that actually create the CAFOs. When I had him as a patient, he was 80 years old, and I was able to help him become vegan in 1 week. In just less than a week, I was able to get him to become vegan. And the reason is because he never knew. He literally never knew the healthcare reasons. His wife had dementia, and I let him know that the best chance that she has is to transition to a plant-based whole food lifestyle to stop the progression of the dementia. And of course, he had already had his rib cage opened up. He had a coronary artery bypass graft, and so he had the scar to prove it. And so he knew that what he was eating was the wrong foods. And so within 1 week, I was able to have him switch. The reason I was so successful isn't just because his wife had dementia and he wanted to help her. It's also because he had one son that was vegan. And so just by having his son become vegan was very influential for him to become vegan. So we have to remember that children can help adults and their grandparents, and it works both ways. So the grandparents can help. They're much more influential when it's grandparents then transition first, down to adults, down to children. But he was one of my favorites because he was so old. I mean, 80 years old, but he was smart. He was a very smart guy. He didn't have dementia. He had heart disease. Yeah, he was one of my favorites. And then about 3 years ago, out here in this building, a boyfriend and girlfriend at that time, they have since become engaged, and so they're pretty well known. Angela Rummins and Tyler Crispin, they're well known. I've never watched Big Brother, but they're on Big Brother, or they were on Big Brother. I've known Tyler for years. He's been coming, working out at our fitness center for the last 7 or 8 years. And so I had to talk with them about 3 years ago, and I'm so proud of them because she's a go-getter. She's written 2 awesome cookbooks. So look her up, Angela Rummins. It is a great recipe book. She's done 2 of them already. Just in the last 6 months, I had a big influencer in the tennis world. I'm here on Hilton Head Island, so we get a lot of golfers and tennis players, and so I had a lady, her name is Elizma, and she is phenomenal. She's so smart. I helped her transition in just a few days, and she has been perfect. She's been 100% plant-based since then, but I've helped dozens and dozens of people transition over the past several years. My mom is vegan. I was able to switch her over about 5 years ago, thankfully. She's a retired nurse, so it was a little easier to help her. But we had lots of discussions about that transition and how hard it was for her, because she thought that I was blaming her. And I wanted her to be crystal clear to her that we were not blaming her. I was not blaming her. This was about the future and how we can, once we know better, we do better. And she gets that. She's very smart. She switched over. She just sent me a huge plant-based whole food vegan Christmas package. And, I'm so happy that she's on board. Now my parents are divorced. And so my father, he's not on board yet, but he's close. He's getting there. He's a very compassionate person, so I think it's going to be easier to actually, instead of talk with him about health, I'm going to talk with him more about animal ethics and how, I love Dr. Milton Mills. Milton Mills has everything memorized. This dude's brilliant. Dr. Milton Mills has the Bible memorized, and so he has all these biblical verses memorized, and so when I share those, and I haven't shared those with my father yet, but I'm going to. I think he's going to really, really be drawn into that message, because I don't think for him health is a priority. I wish it was, but for him I think it's more of the long-term, like religious viewpoint, and I think that's going to be very helpful for him. Yeah, in 2012, after my friend died of a heart attack, I I was given the book, How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn from the Cleveland Clinic. I had the book, and I had every intention of transitioning, but it was hard. And I just was stuck. We just didn't grow up that way. And so, it's that simple, is I didn't think I could, and I was stuck in bad habits. So that was the seed that was planted. And then from that day, I transitioned and slowly weaned myself off the salt, sugar, and oil, processed animal products. And then 2014 came, and I was ready. Now, I also didn't have access to, and I never have seen, even though Forks Over Knives had come out, I think in 2011. Forks Over Knives is an incredible documentary to this day. I highly recommend it. But we didn't have access to those documentaries. And now, at least widely, I should have seen it. And if I would have seen it in 2011, I probably would have transitioned much sooner. So the best thing we can do is share this information. We can share it with our family members, our friends, anyone we like, right, or love. Anyone you don't like, don't share this information. No, I'm just kidding. We want to share this information with everyone, even the people we don't like, because we want to help everyone, and it feels good to help each other. So yeah, I wish I would have transitioned sooner. I wish I would not have been so hard-headed and stuck in my old bad habits, but I'm glad I finally did. The one regret that I have is about 3.5 years ago, I had a friend that was reaching out to me and wanted to go plant-based, whole food vegan. He was looking really just to become healthy, but he didn't know how to do it. And I had a conference out in Dallas, and so I drove down to Austin, which is where he lived. He gave me a tour. It was great. His name's Tony Mendoza. He passed away, actually, and this is why it's such a regret, is because I feel like that was an opportunity that I had, and I didn't fulfill what I really wanted to do, and that was to help him become plant-based. He ended up dying about 6 months later of a heart attack. And so he was 40 years old. He was a very smart Notre Dame law school attorney practicing in Austin. And man, that one hurts. It stings when I think about how I had a day with him and I was trying to help him, and it really, I didn't follow through. Like, I didn't do everything I could have to help him learn. And so that's what drives me today, is to how can I set up my systems? How can I set up this processes of how I think? How can I help others that are not thinking about becoming plant-based, whole food vegan, but they have heart disease, or they have an autoimmune disease, or they have cancer? That's the situation we're in, is we're having these diseases pop up left and right. 2012, my buddy died of a heart attack. That was my wake-up call. But I had another buddy die at age 40 of a heart attack, and that was when I could have helped him. And Tony's not with us anymore, but I think of him often, and I really want to do everything I can to help make sure that I can deliver and do a better job of educating people. When you ask why I didn't go vegan sooner, I think because I was addicted to salt, sugar, and oil. In our society, we are literally given salt, sugar, and oil in every processed food and every animal product we eat. And that includes the sauces that go on top of the steaks and the hamburgers and all that. That's all salt and sugar and oil. We have to realize those are all just tricks. They're tricking us. They want us to eat their unhealthy products. And that's what we have to make sure we really focus on, is how to reset our taste buds so that we don't have these addictions to salt, sugar, and oil. But that's the reason I think not just myself, but the reason most people are stuck is because they're thinking about how they're going to stimulate their taste buds with salt, sugar, and oil. And so I think it's very important to reset. But that's how I would answer that. I'm an activist, but I'm not doing it by being an animal rights activist. I'm a healthcare activist. So, but I love the people that are doing the animal rights activism, because when I see that, I was like, I'm really connected with that too, and that's why I created this kitchen, so that we could have that, share the good food and the pictures of the animals. It's all connected. And then the environment, once we have to watch documentaries to really understand those reasons to become plant-based, whole food vegan. But yeah, it all comes together for sure. One of the things I find most effective in helping people become vegan is just simply being a role model. We look at how we can share recipes with each other. That's a key, because we're always looking to see how we can eat. And so I share my breakfast, lunch, and dinner recipes with people. I really try to role model as the owner of a fitness center, staying fit and healthy, making sure we look at blood work and we look at gut microbiome and those aspects, and making sure we have optimal health for our entire life cycle. Number one, I try to be a role model, and I think that's what we can all do, is just help each other to really see how important it is that we become plant-based, whole food vegan. When I help people become plant-based, whole food vegan, I always think about health first. We want people to think about their health so that they can help their friends and family members also become healthy. We're coaches, so we want to help them from a medical standpoint. We want to look at their heart rate and their blood pressure, making sure that they're thinking about their health first. So those are the big picture things we can do from a coaching standpoint, but we also do the simple things, like how can we help them find new recipes, find new groups and friends, and new medical doctors who are mentors out there in the world. And so there's a lot of resources, and we want to help people find those resources, and that's our goal. The environmental aspect is it's so hard for us to fathom the environmental impact of our food choices. I really like to refer to the documentaries, The Seaspiracy, which just came out this past year, and The Cowspiracy, which came out in 2014. Those documentaries really help us wrap our minds around the big picture of what we're doing in this world and how we can come together to stop it, prevent the damage, and moving forward into a new peaceful, loving world. And that's really the whole message of what veganism is all about. Some of my favorite resources, I love this, How Not to Die. There's a whole website with literally tens of thousands of resources. This is nutritionfacts.org, Dr. Michael Greger and his whole team. I met Dr. Greger in 2015, and he was writing this book at that time, and this became my go-to. I've spent hundreds of hours watching these videos. They're all free and open, to the public. So that's a great resource. Dr. Neil Bernard at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine is fantastic, and his whole organization, they've been there for like 30 years. They're fighting the good fight. There's the Plantrition Project, which is Dr. Scott Stoll and a team of others that are leading that charge, and they're fantastic. That's plantritionproject.com. There's the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is our mother organization that we want to really help and support. If you're able to support them financially, please do. LifestyleMedicine.org is their website. And our website is powerplant.coach. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring all these resources, and we're going to help people see the big picture and help their family and friends transition. Some of my favorite medical doctors is drklapper.com. It's D-O-C-T-O-R, Klapper is K-L-A-P-E-R.com. He's a medical doctor who now lives in Florida. He's helping, going across the country, helping medical doctors in school transition right away, early in life. Dr. Brooke Goldner, who along with her husband runs the goodbyelupus.com website. Wonderful website, wonderful resource in helping people with autoimmune diseases reverse those diseases. And now we have this tremendous, incredible opportunity to educate the population on using these same protocols to reverse long hauler syndrome, which is a COVID long hauler syndrome. And another one that's Dr. Brooke Goldner and her husband is smoothieshred.com, a great resource for simple smoothies that have green kale every day. You got to get your kale in with chia seeds and flax seeds and just a wide variety of recipes there. There's veganlinked.com, that's V-E-G-A-N, linked, L-I-N-K-E-D.com, and that's a great resource for everything. They got everything dealing with veganism, they got it. The more ways that we can help each other, the better we're all going to succeed, and not just individually with our health, but also just helping this world become a better, more wonderful place to live.